Time is precious. Time is money. And this is the time for Money Talk on Atlantic Television Network on ATN Business Today. Highlights of today's reports: foreign exchange, Naira drops value against dollar to 1,234 Naira. On power, federal government unbundles the discos due to large sizes. On internally generated revenue, Customs says it surpasses revenue targets. And American companies in China worry about tensions between both countries. Good day, viewers, and welcome to a fresh episode of ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network, right here in the big business city of Port Harcourt. This is the network's medium of bringing the happenings in the economy sector of our society to our discerning viewers. This program is aimed at bringing to the doorstep of our viewers the business, financial, and economic activities from all strata of society. Its delivery is accentuated through the various stock exchanges across the world, news and current affairs about government's economic activities, private sector businesses, and activities laced with expert opinions, stakeholder analysis, and correspondent reports. And that's the package of ATN Business. By the end of this show, you are rest assured of being informed accurately of financial activities around the world. Now let's go for a very short break, and when we return, we'll reel out the details for today. Please stay with us.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history,
We are one people, all of us.
leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human
On the point of order.
Honorable Student.
It's a pleasure having you back on ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network right here in the city of Port Harcourt. Now let's go into market reports, local and international business news for today. Starting with the Naira depreciated in its value against the United States dollar to 1,234 Naira at the official foreign exchange market on Monday, according to data obtained from FMDQ Securities Exchange. The exchange rate means that the Naira fell by 65 Naira or 5.26% from 1,169 Naira per dollar recorded on Friday. The local currency had strengthened to around 1,072 Naira per dollar on Wednesday, as traders projected the Naira could trade below 1,000 Naira per dollar for the first time. However, the latest drop appears to coincide with remarks of the Apex Bank's governor, Yemi Cardoso, who stated that the intent of the bank was not to defend the Naira when asked about the sudden drop in external reserves. Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves have maintained a one-month dip streak, and the latest figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria shows that external reserves reached a new low of $32.1 billion on April 18, 2024. The reserves dipped and dropped by $2.35 billion in 31 days from $34.45 billion on March 16, 2024. But the CBN governor at the International Monetary Fund World Bank spring meetings stated that the bank would refrain from intervening in the exchange unless unusual circumstances arose, stressing that the recent slight shift in reserves was unrelated to defending the Naira. The national currency had slumped badly in the forex market in the weeks preceding the clampdown on Binance, exchanging for as much as 1,950 Naira in mid-February. Observers have blamed its earlier misfortune on the alleged manipulation of the market by Binance. However, some stakeholders have accused the new crypto exchange platforms Bybit and BitGet for the latest dip. Analysts suggest that the Naira experienced a depreciation over the span of 6 months from July 2023 to January 2024, particularly evident in the black market following the disbursement of funds by the FAAC to federal, states, and local government authorities. The summary of the forex transaction showed that the intraday high depreciated, closing at 1,295 Naira per dollar. The intraday low also reduced to 1,051 Naira per dollar, while the total daily turnover dropped slightly to $110 $110 million on Monday. At the parallel market, currency traders sold the dollar between the rates of 1,250 naira and 1,270 naira from 1,154 naira recorded last Friday. Bureau de change operators who spoke to our correspondent said that the reason for the new increase in dollar rate was due to market forces, adding that they were unsure if there will be more increase or reduction before the end of the week. The naira surged since last March, which had made it the best performing currency in the world, came to a stop on Sunday when it had its first week decline in several weeks on the parallel market. That was a good run for the naira, but there are challenges coming. On to more stories. Foreign portfolio investments, FPI, into the stock market rose by 167.8% year-on-year to 118 billion naira in February 2024 from 44.54 billion naira in the corresponding period in 2023, buoyed by improved liquidity in the foreign exchange market following reforms by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Nigerian Exchange Limited, NGX, disclosed this in its domestic and foreign portfolio investment report for February 2024, which showed a 0.3 percentage points increase to 11.78% in the share of the FPI in the total equities transaction of 1 trillion naira during the period. Similarly, the foreign exchange and investor stake rose month-on-month by 23.9% to 65 billion naira from 53 billion naira in January 2024. Also, the foreign portfolio investment contributions to the total equities transactions rose to 18.39% from 8.15% between January and February 2024. Further analysis showed that the year-on-year inflow at the 40 billion naira mark represents 37.9% of the total foreign investments commitment, while outflow at the 78.21 billion naira represents 62.1% of the foreign portfolio investment. Investment analysts had indicated that stability in the foreign exchange market would result in improved FPI inflow. Don't forget, we are open for advert placements, bookings, commercials, that you can still connect with us on our socials: Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network; Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1; on X, Atlantic TV Net; on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Now let's go to power distribution. Power distribution companies in Nigeria are currently being unbundled alongside back in power. Now, discussing power distribution companies in Nigeria are currently being unbundled alongside state lines due to their large sizes that often result in efficiency and ineffectiveness. The federal government declared on Monday. It stated that the privatization of the firms will not be reversed, but stressed that the discos will be broken into more efficient structures along state lines so as to be able to deliver on their mandates. This came as the federal government also ordered the sale of discos that have been taken over by banks and the Asset Management Company, the Corporation, AMCON, from its original investors and owners. Currently, 4 discos are under the management of banks and AMCON. The Abuja Electricity Distribution Company is under the management of the United Bank of Africa, UBA, while Fidelity Bank manages Benin Electricity Distribution Company, Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company, and Kano Electricity Distribution Company. The Ibadan Electricity Distribution are under this new management due to their inability to repay their loans to the financial institutions. The government stated that those who acquired the discos where the firms were officially privatized in November 2013 lacked the required expertise and financial capacity to run the companies. This came as the Senate Committee on Power lambasted the discos for being so inefficient since they took over the privatized assets over 10 years ago and called for the overhaul of the power firms. In his address, while playing host to the Senate Committee on Power, led by the chairman, Senator Eyinaya Abaride, the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, stated that the federal government had commenced the restructuring of Nigeria's 11 power distribution companies. He also revealed that over 100 projects of the Transmission Company of Nigeria have not been completed since 2001, a period of about 23 years. Wow. Over 100 projects for about 23 years uncompleted. Let's move over into maritime sector. The Tinkan Island Port Command of the Nigeria Customs Service said that it has surpassed the first quarter revenue target for 2024 by 139%, with a total collection of 304 billion naira compared with 127 billion naira recorded in the same period of 2023. The command also said that it recorded a 72.5% increase in the volume of exported goods from the command, amounting to 251,679,000 metric tons of cargo in quarter 1 of 2024 compared to 145,906,000 metric tons recorded during the same period in 2023. The above resulted in a 300% increase in the free on the free on board FOB value of exports from 80.9 billion naira to 287.8 billion naira for the first quarter. That is for 2023 and 2024 respectively. The command also surpassed revenue collection by 139% for the first quarter of 2024 compared to the same period last year. The Customs Area Comptroller, CAC, for the command, Dere Nadi, who disclosed this, said that items exported from the commands include agricultural and other allied products like cocoa butter, cocoa beans, cashew nuts, etc. Giving a breakdown of the command's revenue collection, Nadi said that a total of 88.4 billion naira was collected in the month of January 2024, indicating a 107% increase over 42.5 billion naira collected in January 2023. He further disclosed that in the month of February 2024, the command collected 100.4 billion naira, which is 141.8% higher than 41.5 billion naira collected in the same period in 2023, while in March 2024, the command recorded the sum of 115.1 billion naira as against 42.8 billion naira collected for March 2023, representing 163.9% increase. Tremendous increase coming from IGR of the Nigerian Customs Service. Kudos. And now let's switch over to the oil and gas sector. Operators in the oil and gas sector and the human rights group have lamented the astronomical rate at which corruption is eating deep into the oil and gas sector of the country and lack of political will to tackle the attendant effect of environmental dangers facing the Niger Delta region. Critical stakeholders at the 35th Anti-Corruption Situation Room ACSR workshop in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, the capital of Rivers State, organized by the Human and Environmental Development Agency, HEDA, Resource Center in collaboration with the National Human Rights Commission, supported by the MacArthur Foundation, described endemic corruption in the oil and gas sector as worrisome. The groups accused key actors in the industry of cutting corners to run away from its operations in the Niger Delta without actually addressing the numerous environmental and human rights abuses that have arisen through such operations. Stakeholders at the event took a united position against the triple effect of environmental pollution, human rights violations, and corruption in the divestment in the oil and gas sector in oil-producing communities of the Niger Delta region. Nicholas Hildyard, a UK-based human rights activist and founder of the Corner House, in his speech at the event, slammed Shell Petroleum Development Company and the parent companies Shell for using legal slides to cut corners and run away from its responsibilities in the Niger Delta without addressing the various impacts involving environmental and human rights abuses in the region. Hildyard, an investigator, however, lauded organizers of the event for bringing the issues for discussion, while adding that it will be no exaggeration to say that NUPRC is all that stands between the proposed sale of SPDC's offshore assets and potential environmental genocide, especially for those for best divestment practice and Nigerian law to be followed. The rights activists recalled that concerns over breaches of NUPRC's rules, saying that Corner House was one of the 40 groups that which recently wrote to NUPRC expressing concerns over the proposed SPDC's asset sale. We highlighted a number of areas where the proposed SPDC asset sale appears to be in breach of NUPRC's divestment rules. The overall exercise requires NUPRC standards and assessments of the prospective successor entities' balance sheets and financial with state interest, reputation, investment objective, and track record, ability, sustainability, and alignment. There's a damning report on oil and gas industry's corruption. And now, still on oil and gas, go into the Port Harcourt, the big business city of Port Harcourt. The Port Harcourt Refining Company is on the brink of commencing production. Good news, with oil marketers gearing up to load refined petroleum products as confirmed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. The anticipation builds as workers hasten preparations under directives aimed at revitalizing the facility's operations. Dealers expressed optimism on Friday, projecting potential pricing of 500 naira per litre for premium motor spirits, commonly known as petrol, directed from the refinery in Rivers State. This development is eagerly awaited, and fluctuating fuel prices that have burdened consumers across the country. Adding to the hopeful outlook, operators are also eyeing the Dangote Petroleum Refinery, which is slated to begin petrol distribution next month. Currently supplying diesel, the entry of Dangote Refinery into the petrol market is expected to further drive down the prices and potentially below 500 naira per litre mark, offering a significant relief to the market and also to the people of Nigeria. On Thursday, members of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, River State Branch, during a visit to the PHRC, observed readiness for the refineries to start disbursing refined products imminently. They anticipate that the refinery might begin operations within the month, a sentiment echoed by IPMAN's National Publicity Relations Officer, Chief Ukadike Chinedu. Chinedu noted that the plant's completion was largely achieved, confirming Friday's development and fueling marketers' preparations to commence purchasing and loading activities from the refinery. He highlighted the positive impact expected on fuel pricing, particularly benefiting independent dealers and ultimately consumers. The revitalization of the PHRC stands as a pivotal moment in Nigeria's oil and gas sector, promising to stabilize and possibly lower fuel prices, thereby alleviating some economic pressures faced by Nigerians. Good news on the way. Petrol price might likely drop lower if PMS is being produced at the Port Harcourt refineries, and also when Dangote refineries decides to start dishing out PMS, the price will further drop down below 500 naira per litre as expected. May it be so. And also, more news from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited that it and its joint venture partner, New Cross Exploration and Production Limited, have successfully restarted operations at the Awoba unit field, which has been shut down since February 2022 due to evacuation issues and crude oil theft. A press statement on Tuesday by the Chief Corporate Communications Officer, Olufemi Shoneye, noted that since the restart on April the 13th, 2024, the Awoba field has been averaging 8,000 barrels per day, and production is expected to ramp up to 12,000 barrels per day within the next 30 days. The Awoba unit, which straddles OMLs 18 and 24, is located in the mangrove swamp south of Port Harcourt, River State. Both OML 18 and OML 24 assets are under the management of the NMPC Upstream Investment Management Services, NUIMS. Commenting on the achievement, NMPC Limited's Group Chief Executive Officer, Mele Kiari, attributed the success to the enabling operating environment produced and provided by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Good days ahead. You are still watching ATM Business on Atlantic Television Network. Let's go for this market break, very short market break, and we'll be back to dish more information to your due listeners. Thank you and stay tuned.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATM.
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
So good to have you back on ATN Business on this darling station, Atlantic Television Network, right here in the business city of Port Harcourt, and 194. And also you can view us live also on our YouTube channel. Do follow us. Going on to global stock exchange prices. Asian benchmarks extended gains on Tuesday after U.S. stocks clawed back a chunk of their losses from last week, which was the worst for the S&P 500 in more than a year, while the yen weakened further to freshen the 34-year lows. Wow. U.S. futures were mixed and oil prices rose. Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 edged 0.1% higher to 37.471 points, despite the country's manufacturing activity contracting for 11 straight months, which while approaching the break-even point in April as PM came in at 49.9 points. According to Tuesday's figures from Ojibun Bank, the yen weakened further when it hit a fresh 34-year low of 154 yen early Tuesday. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong added 1.2% to 16,715 points, while the Shanghai Composite Index was down 0.6% at 33,025 points. Australia's S&P/ASX 200 climbed 0.4% to 7,677 points. South Korea's Kospi dropped less than 0.1% to 2,628 points. On Monday, the S&P 500 rose 0.9% to 5,010 points to recover more than a quarter of last week's rout. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, coming to America, Dow Jones Industrial Average added 0.7% to 38,239 points, and the Nasdaq Composite jumped 1.1% to 15,451 points. The rally was widespread and most stocks across Wall Street rose. In the S&P 500, technology stocks led the way to bounce back from their worst week since COVID-19 crash of 2020. Nvidia leaped 4.4%. Anyone that invested in Nvidia, you are making serious money. Alphabet climbed 1.4% as Treasury yields stabilized in the bond market. Last week, a jump in the yields cranked up the pressure on stocks, particularly those seen as the most expensive and making their investors wait the longest for big growth. Bank stocks were also strong, following some encouraging profit reports. Trust Financial rallies 3.4% after its profit for the start of the year topped analysts' expectation. They helped offset a 3.4% drop for Tesla, which announced more cuts to prices over the weekend. Elon Musk's electric vehicle company has seen its stock drop more than 40% already this year, and it will report its first quarter results later in the day. It is a big week for earnings reports generally, with roughly 30% of the companies in S&P 500 scheduled to say how much they made during the year's first 3 months. That includes companies that have come to be known as part of the Magnificent Seven, beyond Tesla and Alphabet. Alphabet being the owners of Google. The difference in growth between the Magnificent Seven and the rest of the S&P 500 should close by the end of the year. Strategists Song Kwon and Savita Subramanian said in B of A Global Research report. Verizon Communication helped kick off this week's report by disclosing a drop in profits that wasn't as bad as analysts expected. It cited price increases and other measures to support its revenue. Verizon stock swung from an early gain to a loss of 4.7% after it reported weaker revenue for the first quarter than expected and kept its forecast for the full year profit the same. Even more pressure than usual is on the companies broadly to deliver fatter profits and revenue. That's because the other big factor that sets stocks prices, interest rates, looks unlikely to offer much help in the near term. Top officials at the Federal Reserve Banks of the United States of America warned last week that they need to leap and keep the interest rates high for a while in order to ensure inflation is heading down to their 2% target. This was a big letdown for financial markets, dousing hopes that had built after the Federal Reserve Bank had signaled earlier that 3 interest rate cuts may come this year. Lower rates have appeared to be on the horizon after inflation cooled sharply last year, but a string of reports this year showing inflation has remained hotter than expected has raised worries about stalled progress. In oil trading, U.S. benchmark crude picked up 32 cents to $82 per barrel. Brent crude, the international standard, gained 30 cents to $87 per barrel. U.S. dollar slipped to 154 yen, Japanese yen, from 154.84 yen. The euro rose also to $1.06 from $1.065. And now we head into the commodity market, the global prices of goods for today, Tuesday. And we start with the crude market, energy market. On crude, we have the Brent crude at $87. Natural gas came in at $1.78 per metric ton. On gasoline, which is called petrol in the United States, per gallon is $2.69. On heating oil is $2.57. For coal, in US dollars, $138 per ton. For UK gas, it was 72 British pounds for the UK gas. For ethanol, for United States, in different for different purposes, but most notoriously used for creation of atomic bombs. But in the market, in the commodity market, it sold for $89.45 per pound. For propane, it's 81 cents per gallon. For methanol, it is 2,614 Chinese yen. For Urals oil, it's sold for 79 US dollars. Now we go into the metals commodities. Into the metals commodities for today. Gold, starting with gold, per pound of gold sold for 2,309 US dollars. Silver sold at $26 per pound, per ounce. For copper, copper sold at $4.42 per pound. For steel, steel sold at 3,558 Chinese yen. Iron ore sold at 108 US dollars. Lithium sold at 110,500 Chinese yuan. On platinum sold at 922 US dollars. Titanium sold at 52 Chinese yen. HR steel, very strong steel, sold at $810. And now let's go into the agricultural commodities for today. Soybeans sold at 1,167 US dollars per measure. Wheat sold at $582 per measure. Lumber, being timber, sold at 514 US dollars per 1,000 feet of the board. Palm oil that is filled in Nigeria here is registered in the world commodity market at 3,977 Malaysian rubles. On cheese, United States dollars, $1.83 per ounce. Milk, US dollars, 15 US dollars per weight. Rubber, we have 160 US dollars per kilogram. Orange juice is in the market, 367 US dollars per pound. Coffee sold at 232 US dollars per pound. Cotton sold at $80 per pound. Cocoa sold at $10,926 per ton. And going to rice sold at $18.96. Canola sold at 636 Canadian dollars. Oats sold at 362 US dollars per measure. Wool sold at 1,158 Australian dollars. Sugar sold at $19.80 per pound. Tea sold at $2.65 per kilogram. Sunflower oil sold at 866 US dollars. Butter sold at 5,894 euros per ton. Potatoes, Nigeria, wake up. Potatoes is on the market, 36 euros, 96 pence per 100 kilogram. Corn sold for 442 US dollars. Bitumen, going to industrial market. Bitumen sold at 3,700 Chinese yen. Cobalt sold at 27,830 US dollars per ton. Lead sold at $2,161 per ton. Aluminium sold at $2,636 per ton. Tin sold at 35,482 US dollars per ton. Zinc sold at 2,784 US dollars per ton. Nickel sold at 19,159 US dollars per ton. And molybdenum, Chinese yuan, went for 455 Chinese yen per kilogram. Now let's go into some economic news from the United States of America. The U.S. Treasury yields have changed little on Tuesday as investors awaited fresh economic data that could provide insights into the state of the economy. The yield on 10-year Treasury was down by less than 1 basic point. The yield on 2-year Treasury was last at 4.9805% after rising by less than 1 basic point. Yields and prices have an inverted relationship. 1 basic point is equivalent to 0.01%. Economic data due throughout the week could indicate how the economy is faring and may inform Federal Reserve policymakers thinking ahead of their meeting on April the 30th and May the 1st. This includes Federal Reserve's preferred inflation measure, the Personal Consumption Expenditures price index for March on Friday, as well as reading of the gross domestic product in the first quarter. On Tuesday, new home sales for March is expected. Economists polled that Dow Jones are expected a 1.2% rise for the month after the figure had declined 0.3% in February. Investors will be assessing this week's data for clues about whether the economy is continuing to prove resilient or whether inflationary pressures remain sticky. If this is the case, the figures could add to concerns about interest rates remaining high for longer and there being fewer rate cuts than expected this year, or even none at all. Federal policymakers have in recent weeks suggested that there is no rush to cut interest rates and have repeatedly said that the rate cuts will begin only when they are confident that the economy is easing. That's from the United States economy. Now let's see between the relationship between Beijing and United States of America. News coming from there says simmering tensions between Beijing and Washington remain the top worry for American companies operating in China, according to a report by the American Chamber of Commerce in China released on Tuesday. The survey of U.S. companies said that it is inconsistent and unclear policies and enforcement, rising labor costs, and data security issues were other top concerns. It also said that despite the insistence of Chinese leaders that Beijing welcomes foreign businesses, many still are hindered from free competition. The Chinese government has stated that it encourages foreign direct investment, FDI, but many of their members continue to encounter barriers to investment and operations, including policies that discriminate against them and public relations campaigns that create suspicion of foreigners, said the report. The report welcomed an improvement in relations in 2023 that was capped by the summit meetings of Chinese leader Xi Jinping and President Joe Biden, but says that the U.S. presidential elections in November was looming large over the future business environment. More recently, the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen visited Beijing, where she raised concerns that potential overcapacity in Chinese industries such as electric vehicles, steel making, and solar panels might crowd out the U.S. and other foreign manufacturers. We recognize that there are significant areas of contention in the U.S.-China relationship, many of which have no easy or short-term prospects for resolution, it said. The report said that the chamber saw high-level exchanges and communication between the two sides as a top priority. Despite the relative improvement in China-U.S. ties, American companies are dealing with slow progress from the Chinese government on promises to level the playing field between foreign and Chinese companies. The report said that, on the other hand, heightened export controls and other restrictions from the U.S. government have raised the cost of compliance. So the end result is companies are getting squeezed between two governments and on the two regulatory fronts. And what we are saying is not getting easy to do business in China. It's getting harder, said the Chamber's chair, Sean Stein. American companies operating in China saw improved profits last year, though slightly less than half expected to be profitable in 2024. Still, many members of the American Chamber say that they were more optimistic about growth in China's own economy. Amongst its many recommendations, the report urged China to create and implement transparent and practical economic policies which treat domestic and foreign entities equally. With that news from China about the American businesses domiciled there, we bring this to a wrap of this edition on ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network, right here in the big business city of Port Harcourt. I remain your delectable business host, Raymond Ken Mbata. We are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. Stay connected with us on our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on X Atlantic TV Net, or watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Until we grace your screen, same time tomorrow, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you and stay tuned.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what they blow.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.